Assalamu alaikum, everyone. I appreciate your patience. You know that I can carry on a conversation. So when the prayer comes in for Maghrib on Thursdays, I better pray it right away because I might talk us right through. And then where's the benefits in that, right? As the sister was saying, today we're going to talk about the brain center that is actually, I would say, in charge of our fasting, or one of the most important areas of the brain that helps us fasting with all of our control. What we're going to talk about today is the Hypo, thalamus, Thalamus. You can write that down if you want to and look it up. It's responsible for maintaining the body's homeostasis. Really cool idea. Homeostasis means, the whole idea behind homeostasis is our body maintaining balance in everything. Literally, balance in temperature. The hypothalamus is very involved with measuring how warm or cold we are. If we're too hot, we then sweat. If we get too cold, then it tells the brain and the muscles, that part, it sends that message throughout the brain, and it tells us to shiver. That's what shivering increases: the muscular activity, increases blood flow, increases activity, increases body temperature. So the hypothalamus is in charge of that. And what's really cool is that means when we talk about homeostasis, it's not just body function, but it's also mental function. That's why it's Ramadan talks about, one of the benefits in the Quran is it teaches us patience. And imagine there's nothing more concerning for the brain and the body than thinking you're hungry implies starving. One of the things we used before supermarkets, we used to have to worry about food collection. What was in season, what wasn't. Hunter-gatherers had to hunt out meat all the time. The gathering, they had to know where the fruits were. They had to know all that stuff. That's why we were so nomadic for so long, until we developed agriculture. It's starvation, and surviving starvation is everything, literally, and thirst also. It registers thirst, it registers dehydration. The problem is, as human beings, is we can train some of this out. We can train out, for example, thirsty. Some of the sisters, more than the brothers, may be aware of worrying about going to the bathroom all the time, right? And what happens is a lot of women, believe it or not, in the practice, we'll talk about dehydration. And what happens is, literally, you're causing so much harm in your body by not keeping the proper fluid content that now, not only are you not going to the bathroom, you're denying your thirst, you're dehydrating your brain, your body, you're wrecking your kidneys, so that the minute you do start drinking again, your body hoards the water, and that's when you bloat. If you maintained a proper hydration, all of us, men and women, then we wouldn't retain water. We wouldn't have to worry about bloating because your body's not having to hoard it. It's not afraid of dying of thirst, dehydrating. And if you train and create, remember when we talked about the basal ganglia, if you train and create responding to your hunger signals, they won't come on all the time. If you create habits, your brain becomes familiar with how often the food comes in, all of this stuff. And your hypothalamus is important to all of that. I really like for all of us to remember, though, is the hypothalamus is also regulating with the patients. It's really important for the emotions. But the idea is that what's really cool is it also involves with the sleep-wake cycle, melatonin, cortisol. But again, the thing about patience is, think about what takes place here. Imagine we talk about Ramadan, and when we talked about goal setting and goal achieving, one of the big lifetime picture ideas that I like to talk about is achieving heaven, right? And Ramadan was one of those. One of the hugely important things is patience, controlling your emotions, controlling your anger. Because things can happen. Some people even get mad at Allah. Oh, why me? Oh, why this? Oh, and if they let their emotions take over, can even criticize and blame Allah for stuff, which is totally unjust. And even with our family members, think about it. If you had a horrible day at the office, and I have 4 children, and when they were younger, hopefully they were always excited to see me come home. Imagine I have a horrible day at the office. It has nothing to do with my family, and the kids hear me coming in. They hear the door open. They come running to the door, yelling and screaming. And then I have a horrible day. Maybe you have a headache as a parent. You show up and you get mad at your kids. You say it's because they're yelling and screaming, but the idea is they don't know. You are actually training them that you are angry at them expressing love for you. Think about that. It's hugely important. So with Ramadan, think about what we're doing and goal achieving and literally everything, like I said with Jannah. If you can learn patience, if you can learn to control your emotions, and like I said, what's really cool about the hypothalamus is it's not just physical control. It's also hugely important to emotional control. Imagine if the same organ, literally, right? If you Google it up or search it up, whatever the search engines are, if you search it up, that same organ controls appetite. That same organ also controls emotions. That same organ controls sleep-wake cycle. That same organ controls thirst, controls body temperature. That organ, the hypothalamus, is in charge of homeostasis, maintaining normal, comfortable, safe, a living environment. So like I said, when you're setting goals, imagine what takes place here the whole month of Ramadan. And I'll leave the hypothalamus for a second and then we'll come back to it. Imagine the whole month. I know exactly what time I'm going to get up. When it comes day to day, I will know minute by minute exactly when I have to stop eating, right? So I'll get up, I'll start my eating, I'll know exactly when to stop. I will know hour by hour. And then pretend Fajr comes in at, an easy number would be maybe 6:10. I'll look, but pretend it's 6:10. So I know just to be safe on my clock, I usually stop at about 6:05. I usually stop 5 minutes beforehand. And so I know I'm going to get up at a certain time. I know I'm going to eat. I know I'm going to drink. I've even planned everything I'm going to eat in the morning, haven't I? So then by the time I get to 6:05, finishing, I'm cleaning, I'm preparing for my salah. I'm going to pray my salah. And then at that time, it's during Ramadan, I will probably, inshallah, I'll be reading more Quran. I'll be reading more Islamic literature. There are a couple things I think really cool. I've got the 99 names in Arabic and English and their meanings. So I'm going to try to learn a few names. I'm already making my plans. So think about how that works. You've got a whole month to train habits in. And Ramadan motivates us even more because if you intentionally avoid it and you just don't consider it important, this is one of the fards that we have to do. So you've got a whole month of training in your meals. You're going to train in your drinking, your hydration. You're going to train in salah. You're going to train in dhikr. Everything, the gates, the shaitan are changed and the gates of heaven, everything is open. So now if the shayateen are gone, this is your opportunity to overcome everything, because the only thing that's left, my aunt's in town, my mother's sister, and the three of us spent literally 2 hours talking about brain function today. As boring as I am with that, right? The idea is we spent 2 hours talking about brain function with the idea that one of the biggest points that we should all understand is the outside influences on us are less strong than our inside influences. And the reason our inside influences are so strong is that they could be, if we go back to the goal setting talk and goal achieving talk we did, when I mentioned biases. You have been in your environment your whole life. And a lot of us continue from childhood, teen years, early adult, into adulthood. We even carry on the behavior. Some people blame their parents for everything, right? And then they grow up to act just like their parents. We were talking about an example today where parents, you see kids misbehaving, yelling, screaming. You'll be in a doctor's office. You'll be out in the supermarket screaming. And eventually, the mother freaks out. She starts yelling and screaming. And that's when the kids stop misbehaving. The mother and father have trained into their kids They can misbehave until the kids hear a certain decibel in the parent's voice, right? So they trained it in. So the same thing training our kids, we are adults. And my aunt, my mother, and I were talking about, I said, the worst thing we have is ourselves, and we've got to overcome our training. Ramadan is a great time for that. You literally, now you're going to get up. Every day, make the intention to get up at that certain time every single day. One of the things I talk to my patients about, if you want to reschedule your day and you want to get up earlier, the question is, and I'll ask you all, what's the first thing you should do if you're wanting to get up early? And they usually say, well, we've got to get up earlier. And I say, no, the night before, the first thing you do is you set your alarm clock, because you've got to train in getting up, right? But if I set, what I did for a couple months when I rescheduled my day was I set the alarm clock half an hour or an hour earlier, depending on what day it was, earlier. So every day the alarm clock went off. Every night I set it, that's all I did. My goal was to set my alarm clock early every day. So that's what time it was set for. It went off the next day. Now, did I get up every day? At first I didn't. It still became, I'm going to get up just in time to get my prayer, right? And then I'm going to rush and get ready and leave. But eventually it was trained in because it was every day. So now it became, I wake up approximately 10 minutes before the alarm goes off every day because it's trained in. Now I'm getting up every day. And what happened was I started going to bed earlier also because I knew, because I trained in the fatigue, right? Because now I'm getting up earlier. So now I know I better go to bed earlier because I'm waking up 10 minutes before that alarm clock goes off. And you've got a whole month to do that. Then we talk about the food. There's only so much food you can eat for breakfast. Or in my case, there's only so much food I can eat for breakfast. I make sure I've got a I make sure I've got a fruit. I take my supplements, and I make sure I've got a protein. And then I also use a powder from a reputable company that I really like and I looked into. I make sure I get all of my proper nutrition. So now Ramadan, because you don't want to eat just junk food, right? That'll make you even more unhealthy. So now I make sure everything I take in with breakfast is nutritious. I know I'm not going to have lunch. I'm not going to eat again right now. 6? I think Maghrib comes in at just after what we did today. It comes in just after 6 o'clock. So I know I'm not eating until after 6. So rather than have my bar at lunch, I have my bar as soon as Ramadan, because I fast on Mondays. As soon as the fast ends, I break my fast. Well, that's what you're going to do during Ramadan too, isn't it? So you're literally plotting out your day. And now for those of you who were eating lunch, now you can say you just want to read more Quran. You've got an hour lunch break to read Quran. And like me, many of you have a little extra weight. I'm sure we do. None of us will starve any one day. You could literally, why not just go out for a 5-minute walk one day? By the end of Ramadan, work it up to a 15 or 20-minute walk. If it's too cold or too wet, stand up for 5 or 10 minutes instead of sitting there all day. So now you've got these blocks of time where breakfast ends, where dinner starts. You probably plan your breakfast meal. You also plan your evening meal. And then I plan my fluid intake. I plan everything, right, during Ramadan. And then if you live close to a masjid, you should plan on, if they break fast there, go as often as you can. Make Taraweeh as often as you can. You're going to probably pray extra, inshallah. All of this, believe it or not, within the idea, now let's go back to the brain. Now we've trained in the basal ganglia, is that you can look at a brain map, a brain picture of the inside. Where's the basal ganglia? Where's that in relation to the hypothalamus? Where's that in relation to the thalamus? Where's that in relation to your memory centers and your emotional centers? They're all right there in the middle, what we call mid-temporal lobe, all right there around and involved with the limbic system, the emotional system. So think about what Allah has blessed us with in terms of Ramadan. You literally have an opportunity to train in. And again, remember what the hypothalamus by itself does. It's all homeostasis. So it touches base with physical, it touches base with emotional, your senses, all of them, your vision, everything to keep you smooth and alive, It is your regulation, your homeostasis, your body emotional temperature, hunger thermometer. It's literally your body, one of the most important brain centers for body regulation, both physical and emotional. And then we get a whole month of planning our meals every day, when we're not going to eat, planning what we're going to do with that extra half hour or hour that you used to spend literally during the middle of the day. Don't waste it. Do something that's going to get you into heaven. Or the goal achieving. Allah blessed you with a skill. Improve your knowledge base in whatever your profession is. I do a lot of writing and typing. Right now we're trying to finish up 2 different projects, my team and I, or well, what I call my team, my kids, my computer guy, and another person, to get these books out in another project we're working on right now. That's what I do during lunch, because I typically don't eat lunch because I tried to train it out. So it's really important. Like I said, I would recommend looking up the hypothalamus. Just type in the question, what is the function of the hypothalamus? Because I'm a big fan of, if you know more about your physical potential abilities and what we've all been blessed with, the more I learn about the brain and the more I talk to you guys about it, the more I learn about religion and the more I talk to you guys about it, the more I implement this stuff into my own life. I'm literally, my first profession was teaching. I taught for almost 10 years, and it was health and phys ed. I graduated from college as a phys ed teacher. That was a good time, clowning around. Most of my experience was kindergarten to 8th grade, so hopefully I was the best athlete on the field all the time. But that's what I did originally. So I love teaching, and I also am teaching myself. So literally, I would advise you to pick up more religious knowledge, more knowledge about your profession so that you can excel and be better at the blessings, the skill that Allah has blessed you with. And it's really important, as we read in the Quran, chapter 2, Surah Al-Baqarah, verses 183 and 185 are, let me grab those and read this to you in religious context. Chapter 2, 183. O you who believe, fasting is prescribed for you, as it was prescribed for those before you, that you may become al-muttaqun. I don't say that really well, but the pious, right? Demonstrating your belief, following the rules, the pious. And there's so many other subtleties with the word piety. And then we jump down to verse 185, because 184 describes boundaries and for a fixed number of days. But if any of you is ill or on a journey, it gives us allowances. Because Allah tells us all the time, He did not prescribe our religion for hardship and to give us hardship. He prescribed it to make our life easy, and I'm a firm believer in that. That's one of the things that impressed me the most, because if I know the rules, then I know what's right and wrong, and that makes everything easy for me. But if I jump down to verse 185, the month of Ramadan, in which was revealed the Quran, a guidance, a reminder that it guides every minute of every day for mankind, meaning everyone. It doesn't say just believers. A guidance for mankind, and clear proofs for the guidance and the criterion between right and wrong. So what do? Strengthening the frontal lobe, right and wrong, inhibition, initiation. So whoever of you sights the crescent of the first night of the month of Ramadan, he must fast that month. And whoever is ill or on a journey, the same number of days should be made up from other days. Allah intends for you ease, and He does not want to make things difficult for you. He wants that you must complete the same number of days, and that you must magnify Allah for having guided you so that you may be grateful to Him. And another thing, I really love the word grateful, because so much research, I tend to be a little more factual when it comes to that. Even though I'm right-brained, every now and then I like the research supports the need for more emotion and more gratitude. Believe it or not, the more gratitude you feel, the more thankful you are, the more happy. It's clearly tied to happiness with life. So it's really cool that when you read the Quran, like I said, science should agree with religion, and religion should be able to be proved in science. And everything in our Quran has been supported and proven so far. It's really cool. The science matches, and that's why I'm saying, with the patience, the piety, remembering that there's something greater. There's no way we created this brain. There's no way we set these rules and this guidance by ourselves. This is not man-made stuff. Atheists are you can't be any more wrong than to be totally disbelieving, right? You can have an incorrect belief, but to be in total disbelief just amazes me, because there's no way we could be the greatest creation out there. But back to the hypothalamus, because I'm wandering again. The idea is the hypothalamus is sleep-wake, also a hugely important hormone release, and I mentioned the mood already, and it's really important, like I said, with patience and working through the anger and controlling your anger, because there's nothing that gets us. You'll see, for example, if we take current events right now, you'll see that the two biggest emotions that one side made a big deal about in America and most around the world, there's no way you can get this many what I would think were rational people to act irrationally, right? Because we knew he was a failure the first time and he still got reelected. The idea is that if you can create fear, if you can create anger, if you can create emotions that override, because if you're fearful, you'll make some horrible decisions to protect yourself, anything to save your life, right? If I give you the exaggeration. If you're that fearful about something, fear, like here it's fear about immigrants, which translates over into fear of brown people. I think we should be more afraid of white Christian nationalism and KKKism and all that stuff that really rears its ugly head, right? So they create this fear, so now you think you have to protect yourself, and you migrate towards those who are projecting that they will protect, as compared to the other side, which said, no, we should go about being positive. We should do positive encouragement. Doesn't motivate as much as fear does. And also, one of the things fear can progress into is being angry. So if I can make you afraid of something in particular, like, oh my gosh, and often and every day, and finally you generate fear about that, if you can't do anything about it to protect yourself, what you may gravitate toward is anger towards what you're afraid of, because you're blaming that for your fear rather than the person that created the fear mongering in the first place. And that's why right now, Ramadan, all these subtleties, Ramadan is huge, because if we keep it simple, the same area of your brain that will influence appetite and thirst also influences, if you can control appetite and thirst, you strengthen the hypothalamus to control emotions. And if you can control your emotions, you allow your frontal lobes and prefrontal cortex, and particularly dorsolateral prefrontal cortex, you allow those to strengthen at the same time, so that now you're a better thinker and you're just a better human being. Hopefully that makes sense. I know I jumped around a little bit, but that hypothalamus is so important to everything. If you can learn train it in every year, Allah blessed us with training on how to achieve what is really a short-term goal, a daily and monthly goal, right? You spend a whole month training in goal achieving. And then every day that you're successful, you earn blessings, but it also helps you train things. So at the end of 1 month, what do they say? 21 days or 30 days, depending on whose research you read, on how to train in a new habit. So if you literally ask Allah to bless you with training in all these good habits and make it good habits and more good habits, train them in during Ramadan to be a better person and be a better believer and be a better Muslim, that's a great goal to have. And that helps train us in for the rest of the year in achieving our yearly goals and our lifetime goals. Literally the hypothalamus. And you can train that with appetite, with controlling, and that'll help better influence, because controlling food intake is one of the things. You take it, you either eat it or you don't, you either drink it or you don't. And that will help you then control your emotions a little better, because it's the same organ. You can't tell me it doesn't work that way, because it's the exact same organ. So literally, if you strengthen that organ with whatever you're good at, say you're good at hiding your emotions, well then hopefully you now say it's the hypothalamus. So I'm going to train in controlling my appetite. Or maybe it's easier for you to train in controlling your appetite, but you still get emotional in front of other people. Well, remind yourself, it's the same brain organ that trains in appetite and food intake control. It's the same organ that trains in emotions. The blessings of Ramadan are so far reaching that, and I read in the verses from the Quran, there are so many levels, mashallah, in the Quran. There are so many levels. This talking about the hypothalamus is just one, and you can see how many layers are involved there. Look at these elite level athletes who train and work out every day. It's amazing that they still get over emotional. It's because if you spend that much time controlling your food intake, you control your training, you involve in your sleep or your sleep-wake cycle, that's all hypothalamus. So now they should start telling themselves, I'm going to control. They say, oh, I'm going to let down over here. I'm going to go do this crazy stuff. I'm going to live a wild lifestyle. Don't shortcut. That's why I'm not a big fan if I am trying to lose weight intentionally for an extended period of time for some reason to see if I can do it. There are no cheat days in my diet schedule. I'm not a big fan of cheat days because cheating implies everything by itself, doesn't it? The minute I say cheat, there's no good connotation there. It's literally the D word, discipline. I know it's a lot, but it's discipline. And if you can do it during Ramadan, every one day that you're successful is a great day. Any day you fall off, remember Allah's mercy is greater than his wrath. Ramadan is such a beautiful month to help make all of us better people, isn't it? If there are any questions, feel free to type them in and ask right now.
I drink and eat that many things, but the main things is the tongue.
Exactly. Backbiting and
gossiping and many things. Now online, I'm boss and I read, and the key, a lot of people sharing what they're doing. That is disaster. People doing this stuff, not fasting. Lying is not fasting. Cheating is not fasting. Backbiting is never. Slandering is not that. Everything, especially in the month of Ramadan, you have to watch your tongue. Of course, there is no drink, no eat, no sexual relationship, but also the most important thing, the tongue.
Exactly. And that's the thing. I'm so glad you said that because all I mentioned was emotion. It's so important, the discipline, the control of everything. And again, backbiting the tongue. The Prophet ﷺ, you used to teach us, there's got to be 50 million hadith, if I'm not exaggerating, about how the tongue is the main organ that's going to get you thrown in the hellfire, I think.
Beautiful hadith, a statement, and one kalima, statement, book your hellfire.
Exactly. Inshallah.
Only statement. With anger, for example, a lot of people go to the masjid here. I'm not going to mention different masjid. Go to the masjid before iftar. People waiting to be and they insulted each other. Insulted into this, then eat and tarawih and mashallah. And when I said, by the way, whoever doing this, you fasting is not valid. You have to redo this pain against me.
All the time.
Yeah. Point. Jazakallah khair, beautiful tongue. Yes. The emotion. We have to watch my tongue, my cell phone, watch. So we have to watch that. Why? Everything here, the two angels writing of Ibrahim, he saw this side. There is no way. And then plus, Allah said, number 16, we know what is the thinking. We are closer to plus our life between the brink of the eye. Life or not life. In Ramadan, you have to behave, train yourself. Sorry to interrupt.
We have a question here. We're going to
hold on. Any question, we need somebody to donate $25 for the question. Doesn't make sense and stuff like that. Any question, but that right is professional. That right, professional doctor. Question, $25.
And all of it is to Sister Layla.
She said, this is a great point. She said, Dr. McBride, can you give me an example as to how I can set goals to watch my tongue, because this is my problem and I admit it. I can't stop talking about things I shouldn't talk about. Can you give me an example how to set goals for that?
Yeah, I speak about myself. I do. We were just talking about it today. One of the things I listen for is people that use a lot of I and me, because that tends to mean their left brain. I hope, let me say right now, I'm going to say I and me a lot because I'm afraid of backbiting. We were just talking about it today, and I use description, self-talk, and self-examples so that I don't misrepresent someone else. So if it's okay with the sister, I'm going to tell you what I do when I fall apart. I just in case, so that you all know, I'm not the smartest person I know, not the most perfect Muslim I know. It's, these other things. But what I do practice is trying to show other people a better side of me, if that makes sense. So that's the underlying, without being a hypocrite, but the more you consciously think about, it's easier to add things to your life. For this, to answer the sister's question, I find it's easier for me to add things and fill up. In this case, it would be a mind space thing. I'm not going to gossip. I'm not going to backstab. That's already a habit. You know how hard it is to talk yourself out of doing something that's already in there? Not what you want to do is fill up your dinner plate with so much good food you can't eat the bad food. Or fill up your mind or your thought process with, I'm not going to backstab, cut out, I'm not going to gossip. Thinking about what good can I say, even if it doesn't apply to that person. Let me say something else that's good. Let me change the topic from that person to something good. Literally replace my conversation. My kids, my mother and my aunt, after 2 hours, they enjoyed the conversation as much as I did. It was brain and religion with me. So the idea is, what you want to do is try to replace that with, first start apologizing to yourself. Literally apologize. Like, not apologize, ask Allah for forgiveness and apologize to Allah that you are not following his commandment to not backstab and not gossip. That's the first thing. Pretend it's not a human rule. Pretend it has nothing to do with you being a human rule and being nice. Go with the idea that Allah, the one, ordered you not to do it. And every time you do it, you're being disobedient. So tell yourself, I'm greater than that, right? It's greater than me, it's greater than you, it's greater than the person you're backstabbing. Allah knows you just did that. So every time you do it, catch yourself and start with astaghfirullah, right? Start asking for forgiveness, beg for forgiveness, and do it after you do this all the time. Add the good, beg for the forgiveness. And if you're that aware of it that you can now transfer over and beg forgiveness, then you'll slowly start to change your mindset and your brain. You don't even have to make it active. It is active, but you don't have to start saying, I'm not going to do it, because you're so focused on doing it then. I'm not going to do it. No, add a positive to it. That's what I did with all of my stuff. Like I said, with love eating. I really do. I like eating. Thank God I'm over 6 feet tall. Thank God I was blessed with the parents I have and all that stuff. The idea is that what I did do for lunch, for example, and I say it all the time, and just like backbiting, it's not that I was able to work on my computer every day. It was not that I could walk away from food immediately the minute I decided on it. What I did was I realized that the book writing, the article writing, the lecture writing, I do that stuff during lunch. I think, like so happened today. Well, I'm working on something right now that I'm going to plan on doing tomorrow, but it won't take place during lunch tomorrow because tomorrow's, and I go to Juma during lunch. So it won't take place tomorrow, but it will take place tomorrow morning probably, unless my mother wants to work out, right? And she's 88 years old. So if she wants to work out tomorrow morning, that's what I'm going to do. If she doesn't want to work out, inshallah, I'm going to get up and work on, I'll be typing and reading and writing. The same thing goes for that backbiting stuff or any bad habit that you guys want to talk about. Start replacing it with good. One of the things, the question that was just typed in about food. Let's start with the fact that you overeat. You're a chronic overeater. Holy cow, I can't help myself. I eat. Well, suppose you started forcing yourself to overeat with fruits and vegetables. I used to do a health talk for a community center or a community group here, one town over, just a few minutes away. Had a retirement group that used to come in every, I think it was on Thursdays. Yeah, on Thursdays. And I would go down and I'd lecture at lunchtime. And one lecture was about eating correctly. And that's a huge thing for us, right? Now, it's expensive to eat organic, so I don't make organic my priority. But what I did was I brought in a bag of $7 Lay's potato chips. There's about 9 ounces in it. It was $7 and 9 ounces, or $7 and 11 ounces. I'm less than a pound, right? It's less than a pound, and it was like $9. At the time, few years ago, I also carry in a bag of apples. $3 and change for a 5-pound bag of apples. Less than a pound for $5 to $7, $7 to $9, whatever it was. More expensive, more than twice, right? It was more than twice as much, and hardly anything in this bag of chips, right? Not even real potatoes in those cases. Then you've got over here 5 pounds of apples. This bag of potato chips, this isn't even going to make it through the whole TV show, is it? It's not good for you. You're not going to make it through. Don't buy the potato chips. I used to tell the people, and they were my age or older, I'd say, listen, if you can eat through this bag of apples right now while I'm talking, I'll give you money for it. It was the joke. I said, pay you to do that. Eat through this 5-pound bag of apples. And it was cheaper. So it works out what? It's cheaper to eat healthy, even if it's not organic, than it is to eat this junk food. So if you've got a question about overeating, start with doing what you can. Eat better food. A bag of apples, a whole thing of bananas, a bag of oranges. You can eat through, strawberries are so much smaller, blueberries are so much smaller. You can eat through a container of those in no time, right? I'm a big fan of using apples and things like that to control diet. If you have restrictions, this is a general recommendation from a guy that does this. Do a lot of apples, do a lot of pineapple here. I know most of the fruit is picked somewhere else and shipped in, so it's not as healthy. That's why I take supplements, okay? If you have an eating problem, don't focus on eating better food choices. You can say, oh, well, I can't eat fish. Because, if you have food allergies, I'm cool with that. I understand, and I'm sorry it's hard for you. The idea is buy fish. Yes, a lot of this stuff is now farm raised, but think about how bad the cows are, that they're all crowded, gate farm, dirt, no grass, stressed all the time. They're probably just as bad for you too. And you can eat fish, you can eat turkey, you can eat chicken. You can't afford a lot. When I was first divorced, I had 4 kids. I'm working full time. The kids are in school. I'd get up in the morning, I'd buy chicken. I'd buy the whole chicken, and they'll tell you it was horrible because I don't know how to cook. I don't know how to spice. Their grandmother, phenomenal cook. Their dad, horrible. Picture this. They had to eat. So put the whole chicken in a crock pot, put the water in. Almost embarrassing if it wasn't so funny. Then I'd come home from the office at lunch. I'd throw the clothes in the washer. I'd come home from the office at lunch. I'd throw the clothes in the dryer. I'd pour in the frozen vegetables that I was going to use. I'd salt and pepper this. About how horrible this is. This is like American, like white people way of horrible cooking, right? Couldn't barbecue. I just didn't know that stuff. I was really blessed with people that could cook all around me all the time, so I didn't pick up that habit. The kids would come home, and my one daughter, my oldest daughter, my second child, we move over here, and one of the first things I remember her saying is literally, she told my mother, never buy my father a crock pot again. They ate well. I couldn't afford hardly anything, right? So I'm buying whole chicken because it was cheaper in the long run, right? And it lasted longer. I'd cook it all up, and then the big joke was, my father would say, get home, pull off the piece you want, because some people like wings, some people like legs, some people like breast. Pull off the piece you want. Cool with that. And then make sure you pour yourself a cup of the water, or what I called soup. It was literally just boiled down water, because all of the minerals and vitamins that leach out of the meat are in that water. So I'm telling you, my kids were never accused of looking unhealthy. I always made sure they had plenty of meat, plenty of fruits, and plenty of vegetables, and I was broker than broke, and I was doing it by myself and with the help of Allah. Then we moved back over here and my mother saved us all. So the idea is, if you have eating issues and you just can't help yourself, I dare you, I request you, I recommend you to buy all the fruit and vegetables that you can. Do not buy sausage, you're gonna buy plain fish, you're gonna buy plain chicken, you're gonna buy plain ground beef, whatever it is your favorite fish, is your favorite meat, whatever. But buy the plain stuff because it'll be a little bit healthier. Spice it how you want to. If you're going to put a little bit of sauce on it, it's not the sauce that made us obese, is it? It's the eating of the junk food, the simple carbohydrates, and those chips. So literally with the question that was typed in, replace, if you're a chronic just overeater, replace the overeating junk food with overeating fruits and vegetables. And there's plenty of research to show that the more you chew, the greater the decrease in hunger is. You're wired for mechanical, your brain likes muscle action. So what you do is you're wired, you chew a certain amount and your brain starts to say, well, wow, that was a lot of food. An apple, how much chewing do you have to do on a whole apple? You chew the apple and chew it. And your brain starts to say, wow, that's a lot of fiber, and that's a lot of, that much chewing must mean I had a lot of food. And then it takes, some research says it takes about 20 minutes for your stomach to feel full. So the more you chew, the longer you take, and the more likely you are to feel full without eating and overeating. For me, it's an easy solution. It's if you've got a problem eating, make sure it's a problem eating good food. Do it all in good food. And then that's the hypothalamus right back in because it's appetite.
I don't have any more comments here. You guys in the Zoom room, you can go ahead.
Alhamdulillah. Absolutely,
and
sister.
I'm definitely going to give that a try, and we're going to see how it goes. And yeah, it's a really good idea. You saw any cases where overeating the good stuff became an issue as well?
Well, I got to tell you, the better question is, then I'll be sarcastic and I'll turn around and say, sister, do you really think you can eat enough apples to put on weight? And you tell me right now, go ahead.
I would hope not.
Me too, wouldn't it? But again, think about it. When we talk about fruits and vegetables, there is so much fiber. I love apples because there's so much fiber in them, right? And I grew up in upstate New York. We literally had a friend of mine, classmate in elementary school and through high school. They had an apple tree in their yard, 2 apples, one out front and one out back. We had a pear tree in our backyard. So literally they'd come in season and we had that fresh fruit. And I got to tell you, we'd climb up in the tree. We'd literally pick. An apple was easier to eat than an apple. I could probably get through 2 or 3 of those maybe. But man, I got to tell you, I don't care what age I was. After eating 1 apple out of the tree, I was done. Think about one of the strongest animals in the animal kingdom in terms of primates, gorillas, right? Chimpanzees too, right? Think of gorillas though, some of the strongest creatures out there up on 2 and 4 legs. And all they do, they don't even jog, do they? They stroll around, they eat a lot of vegetables, and they get some protein through the bitter on. But the idea is these guys and girls, female gorillas, are some of the strongest with hands creations Allah has out there, aren't they? And all they do is stroll and eat fruits and vegetables. They jog, they don't train, they don't eat special during certain times of the day, they don't pick out, they just eat and stroll, and I'm not messing with them, right? So the likelihood that you can truly, honestly, fiber-rich food, the likelihood that you are going to overeat is really unlikely, is really low. I just imagine. There's no way. I mean, if you can eat through that bag of apples, I'll send you a chip, so to speak.
I have a good news, sister. I have a con for you. One of the sisters actually, She her PhD food, nutrition, medicine, food, how to eat right. And she is internal followers. Sister Layla, I know her very well, Dr. Lynn. Okay, if Sister Layla, speak with her about the food, she's in class now in university. But you can speak to Sister Dr. Lynn, and she will help you with the food, exactly with the food, especially for Ramadan. She's prepared for herself actually next Thursday and next week a lecture in the masjid here regarding the food.
Yes, you need to that lecture and share it with us on if you can fit it in, however you guys do the watch it on tape, right? Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, I'm going to the masjid gather all of us.
Inshallah. Does that answer your question, Sister Nia? Oh, sorry.
Sorry, I'm trying to work these mics.
I know you are, and you're doing a great job.
Here's another. Sister Amina wants to know. She said that she is diagnosed with non-alcoholic fatty liver disease.
Oh, that's tough.
She has to lose 50 pounds. Any suggestions to help her to reverse that or do that?
I would recommend is, again, if we go with goal setting, what you're going to do is look at 50 pounds, and it's like the first thing I think probably everyone thinks is, holy cow, 50 pounds, a lot of weight, right? So what you're going to do, sister, is now would you and would your doctor, would your health be okay if we set a goal of 50 pounds by next Ramadan or next, say, January, all this the goal setting. But literally, if you said these 12 months, I'm going to spend 12 months. Now what happens is you've got an extra 2-week window because during the course of a 12-month calendar, because of the days and the way this stuff falls, you got 52 weeks. Pretend or imagine, pretend. Number one, start looking at what you think you could add to it. How easy would it be if we keep it real simple? You're going to get rid of, this is hard for a lot of people, you're going to not even try, this is what you're going to do. You're going to get rid of your bread, your rice, and your noodles. If you can't get rid of it, married, family, whatever the case is, what you're going to do is eat that last, okay? You eat like what I have for breakfast. I have fruit, banana, sliced apples, sliced. Those are the big ones. And strawberries, sliced sometimes. That's what is on my plate. I used to have 2 eggs in the morning. I decided I wanted to lose 3% body fat. I measure mine in percentages. And then the 3% times my body weight, that tells me my poundage. So then I exercised. What I did was I increased my exercise more, but I also got rid of 1 egg, which is no big deal, but that's where I started. So I have my fruit, vitamins, minerals, enzymes. I have 1 egg, and where I shop my meat, here we have these stores, I get halal bacon. That's my, believe it or not, you can consider bacon my junk food. I have 3 slices in the morning. That's my junk food. Then I take my standard process. Here's a plug for a company, the company I use, Standard Process. You can look them up, standardprocess.com. I like that company. I love that company. And I take my Standard Process bar, and if I'm eating that day at lunch, then I have my Standard Process bar for lunch, and then I have a small dinner. We're good. And then my mother loves baking, so every now and then I'll have a brownie, or she'll make cookies, or the thing. So what you do is look at what you eat. If you can, get rid of the bread, rice, and noodles. If you can't, eat your salad first, or have fruit with dinner every night. Eat your fruits and vegetables before you eat anything else. There's so much fiber, the chewing, the everything. There's so many mechanisms that you're stimulating in your brain and your body when you eat fruit and vegetables first. I always eat my salad first, and I like my food, believe it or not, lukewarm. I don't like it hot. So mother always says, oh, it's going to get, cool off. Now she doesn't say it anymore. I shouldn't say she used to, because she knows I like it to cool down. So I eat my salad first. Then I have the vegetables on the plate, because it's usually, it's a salad. Then she might even do broccoli or asparagus in particular. Those are two of my favorites. There's filling. Then I eat the meat. So I'm through the high fiber stuff, breakfast, and then dinner. I eat my high fiber stuff first. And then if you eat the meat next, protein, meat is some of the hardest compounds to break down. So it's really filling. Most meat has some kind of fat that is also very filling. You've got fat-soluble vitamins, A, D, E, and K. Everything else is water-soluble, so they have to be replaced more often, and meat contains fat. So you get all these good things, and then you, like I said, sister, if you can choose the order, then if you have any room, if you have to have rice, if you have to have a noodle, save it for the last thing you eat. And don't leave room from the fruits and the vegetables and proteins. Eat that in that order. Fruits and vegetables first. Proteins second. Then simple carbohydrates, bread, rice, and noodles last. And literally don't save room. It's not a big deal. The food is always there. The goal is to feel full, not to eat all of that. You don't need dessert. You absolutely don't need this white rice stuff over here. Simple white rice. So you don't need that stuff. What you need to do is eat and feel full. That's the goal. I had to get in, mashallah. That's goal of eating to survive. You don't live to eat. And if you do like eating, I'm not gonna lie, I like eating. Rather than, picture this then, reframe it in your head. If I overeat every day and I eat all this junk food and I eat all this processed food, my lifespan, Allah knows best, right? Allah knows best. My lifespan may only be this long, right? Pretend that's 50 years, 40 years, 30 years, 20 years, whatever. Whatever the lifespan is. Pretend Allah decided, well, they're doing everything right, so he's going to bless us with more. Why don't you try to fit in all of this food in the course of 40 years of living, and imagine you're going to live 40 years, rather than trying to fit all this food in 20 years. Spread it out. You don't need to eat it all today. There's still going to be something there tomorrow, literally. And if you're going to live, imagine Allah blesses us living till 90, 100 years old, whatever it is for you. Like I said, I'm about to turn 65. So the idea is, imagine if I'm blessed with 35 more years. I don't need to eat everything today. If I do maintain that habit, how uncomfortable am I going to be? How unhappy am I going to be? Picture the physiological response. Did you know, everyone out there, I want you to understand, fat generates its own inflammation. The more fat you have, once you move into overweight, right? Normal. Once you move into overweight, your body fat starts releasing inflammatory chemicals, what they're called cytokines and IL-6 and interleukin-6, all these things, right? Chemistry names, science names. It releases all this inflammation stuff. And the more fat you are, the more inflamed you are. So what does flame do? Inflamed, it stimulates your pain fibers. Now you're in pain and miserable all day for no other reason than you like to eat the way you do. You like to eat processed foods. You eat all that candy. You eat simple. You don't eat enough anti-inflammatory foods and antioxidants and science words for fruits and vegetables. Fill your plate, fill your diet with fruits and vegetables, then follow through with a real good protein. And then if there's any room left, eat some more salad, eat some more vegetables, then go to the simple carbohydrates. And plan on a 50-pound weight loss in 52 weeks. And it starts now. You're going to start preparing these nutritious dishes. You're going to trial all of them so that when you come into Ramadan, you've got your nutritious, good for you breakfast. You've got your nutritious, good for you dinner. You're going to drink a lot of fluid, particularly water with breakfast. You're going to drink a lot of fluid water with dinner. If you're a coffee drinker, have that up in the morning. There's a lot of good research on coffee. Depending, it's research shows between 2 and 5 cups a day. I like coffee. Imami confirmed that. I don't like coffee, but I drink at least 1 cup every day. Today I had 2. I had 1 in the morning while I was talking to Mom and my aunt, and then I had a 2nd cup just before I went out into the garage and exercised. It's good for brain stimulation if you don't have allergies to stuff. It's good for brain stimulation. There's research showing that it helps prevent diabetes, and on who you are. 2 to 5 cups. This is an extreme, and most of us would be healthy enough with 2 cups, however you're going to do that. But fill your plate with fruits and vegetables and a little bit of protein. Go back for seconds with fruits and vegetables. Then add the rice, the noodles, and the bread products. And drink lots of water, because juices are a hidden calorie counter or a hidden calorie addition. But do it, plan it over 52 weeks. A pound a week is, isn't it? And then you just add 5 or 10 minutes of walking. Eventually you'll get comfortable with that, and you kick it up to 20 minutes. And literally that by itself may sound easy, and it's also very effective. Keep it simple, and it'll be easier for you to follow. And then on Sundays, you join the sisters with Wania.
Alhamdulillah. Any other questions or comments? Okay, alhamdulillah. All we have for tonight, very good, informative class. It's time to start setting your goals to get closer to Allah. We want to take advantage of that hypothalamus.
That was awesome.
Make sure you guys Google it and study it, and then inshallah, the brother here is asking, what are we going to continue with this next week or what?
If we could, I'd like to go back into some brain stuff for a little bit, if we could.
Yes, that's what you're asking.
Okay, to do another brain lecture. If I could, you and I will text each other, because I got a couple thoughts. I just want to decide between 2 different topics.
Okay, good. Fine. That's what they're asking. Yeah, good. So continue with the brain next week. Okay, so I want to thank everybody for joining. I'll put these shorts out. I know y'all love the shorts. I'll put them out. If not tonight, you can look for them in the morning.
All right.
And remember, guys, all important, our brains healthy. Because I'm telling you, when you get old, you start forgetting stuff and losing stuff with your brain. So it's good to take care of the brain. Yes, exactly, Sister Savannah. Inshallah, guys, I'm going to close out for now. Remember that my class is at 9:30. The Metcalcitic Tafsir. Make sure you guys read those pages. And inshallah, I'm going to log out for now. Subhanakallahumma wa bihamdika ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta astaghfiruka wa atubu ilaik. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.